Hi, this is Tom. I'm your host of Tough Times Talk Radio here on WELE 1380 The Cat. We're going to educate you, we're going to inspire you, and you're going to learn about things that you can't forget. Please join us Thursday night, 6 p.m., WELE The Cat.
I could either ignore it or face it. My child had trouble grasping math concepts. You don't want your kids to fail at math. You want them to have confidence and the skills to take them where their dreams are. Math Made Easy wants to make you an offer. They'll improve your student's grade by at least one full grade or your money back. Teachers can't slow the pace for each student. Math Made Easy can. For more than 20 years, Math Made Easy has been helping hundreds of thousands of students grasp challenging math concepts using a step-by-step approach. The affordable Math Made Easy programs help students visualize math concepts with engaging and dynamic lessons. Students learn at their own pace. Call 1-866-598-MATH or visit mathmadeeasy.com. Most students forget at least 50% of the year's schoolwork over the summer, and with Math Made Easy, your child will be prepared to excel this coming fall. Math Made Easy is now running its annual summer sale. Call now, 1-866-598-MATH, 1-866-598-6284.
Hi, this is Chip Wade, DIY expert, TV host, and lead designer for WadeWorks Creative. I love being outside and taking care of my lawn. Don't you? Well, the outdoors just got better because the Home Depot has all the supplies you need for your lawn or gardening project for less. Guaranteed low prices on outdoor power equipment from top brands like Ryobi, Toro, DeWalt, and Echo. The next generation of outdoor power is here to make your yard work easier than ever before. Visit HomeDepot.com/outdoors for details. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
Only the Home Depot has the Weber Spirit 2-burner gas grill with gourmet barbecue system. Just $399 and just in time for Father's Day. It's one grill with infinite possibilities. Like a griddle insert to go from flipping burgers to flipping pancakes. And 4 other available inserts to take him where no grill has gone before. Not at this price. Every dad deserves a Weber Spirit 2-burner gas grill. Just $399 and only at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Valid in continental U.S. only.
You can get your IRA or 401k delivered to your home in the form of physical gold and silver coins. Augusta Precious Metals is the leader in home delivery gold IRAs. You get free shipping, free insurance, and no professional management fees. Call 855-858-5807 now for your free guide to Augusta Home Delivery Gold IRAs. Call Augusta Precious Metals at 855-858-5807. That's 855-858-5807. Trust Augusta.
Sarah figured out that by switching to Metro PCS, she gets 2 free smartphones.
Your barbecue ribs are the best.
Take the rest home with you, Sarah.
Just like she figured out that by visiting her in-laws, she doesn't have to cook for the rest of the week. You too figure it out. Get 2 free 4G LTE smartphones from top brands like Samsung and LG after instant rebate when you switch. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figure it out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included. See store or metropcs.com for details and terms and conditions.
We're all affected by homelessness, whether you've been there yourself or have neighbors living on your sidewalks. Homelessness is not acceptable, and the National Coalition for Homeless needs you to add your voice to the millions standing up for housing and economic justice. Visit www.nationalhomeless.org to learn more or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/National Coalition for the Homeless or Twitter at NTL_homeless. Contribute, advocate, reach out and educate. Join us at ending the epidemic of homelessness in America. The views and opinions expressed on this program are exclusively that of the host and the guests who speak them and do not reflect the views and opinions of the staff and management of WELE 1380 The Cat or Bethune-Cookman University, its staff, officers, or board of trustees.
Welcome to Tough Times Radio with the homeless teacher on WELE 1380 The Cat. The radio show where we educate you, we inspire you, and we're guaranteed to piss you off. I'm your host, Tom Redman, and tonight I'm joined for the first time by my new co-host, Mia. Hi, Mia.
Hi, how are you doing, Tom?
I'm doing great, and so you ready to get started tonight?
Absolutely. What do we have on for tonight?
Well, first, let's tell everybody that this radio show, if you haven't joined us before, was born out of my desire to educate people about homelessness. I'm a Florida teacher who voluntarily lived homeless for over 3 months in 13 cities across America. And I've been advocating for the homeless ever since I learned the truths of homelessness through the eyes of the needy. Today, we're going to be talking about the criminalization of the homeless. And we're going to have some great guests tonight. We're going to have Miss Megan Hustings, the Executive Director of the National Coalition for the Homeless, joining us from Washington, D.C. We're also going to have some other surprise guests that I won't bring up right now, Mia.
Ooh.
Yeah, ooh. So we're going to have some surprise guests. And I want to talk about one quick thing. You know, I have to give a big shout out, and Florida Hospital doesn't know I'm doing this, but I'll just tell you, I was down by the Salvation Army on Saturday. And I see this huge bus, and so I started asking some questions of what was going on. And unbelievably, you know, they talk about what's happening, Mia, over there in Orlando with all the reach out of the community, and what Florida Hospital did here, what I found out about was unbelievable. So I want to give them a big shout out because they brought a bus there with doctors and treated female patients.
Great. That's wonderful.
Yeah, unbelievable. They gave bus passes. They gave over-the-counter meds. They actually went in and painted the bathrooms and did a whole bunch of work. So if you work at Florida Hospital, big shout out to you guys. And just so you know, you can interact with us on the show by either calling in. The call-in number is 386-523-1380. You can join us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is Homeless Teacher Tough Times Radio, or you could join us on the regular page at Homeless Teacher. We broadcast every Thursday at 6 p.m. from our flagship station here in gorgeous Ormond Beach, Florida. But you can join us in we have 3 other cities coming on board in the next couple of weeks. So you can be joining us, and I'll announce those as soon as they're firm. But, I mean, they're firm, but we just haven't signed contracts. Anyway, so today's guest is actually Megan Hustings, as I said earlier, the Executive Director of the National Coalition for the Homeless. And I invited her on the show because she is absolutely a subject matter expert on the criminalization of the homeless and how it affects not just the homeless, but the community. And we're going to get to talking to her a little later on in the show, Mia, but first we have to do my favorite segment.
What's that?
Removing the Emperor's Clothes.
Uh-oh.
And so we used to call it another name, but what this segment is, each week we begin our show highlighting what's happening in a city or county in regards to them developing a viable plan for the homeless. And we've Homeless and Hungry, the nonprofit group from Orlando, my organization, has been advocating in Daytona Beach for coming up on 2 years now, Mia. Gosh, November it'll be 2 years. But I guess it's not close to November yet. This is still summer. Anyway, so I want you to know that the purpose of putting this information out is just to educate the public on truly what's happening. You know, it's not an outside perspective. I do a lot of groundwork. I do a lot of research. And so let's start our Removing the Emperor's Clothes segment. So today's emperor is Commissioner Robert Gilliland of the city of Daytona Beach. He is a city commissioner. And first, you know, I can't even give it a lead in. The first clip we're going to play here, Harold, is we want to get the clip where Mr. Gilliland berated me. Can we go ahead and shoot that?
I'm insulted by the fact that this guy from Orlando comes in, has no idea what our community is about, has no history of understanding what we've gone through with the overabundance of social services in our core area, downtown. And that when one of our residents speaks up and basically echoes what this commission has said, that enough is enough, do not approach that microphone. And when we say enough is enough,
he's not addressing you, sir. I'm sorry.
That, you know, this is completely inappropriate. It is ignorant to Daytona Beach, our history, and what we have been through, what we're trying to accomplish, that is resulting in this misinformation, slanderous type of information being presented to this community.
Please have a seat, everyone. We haven't called anyone. Have a seat. You may have that, yes, sir.
So that was City Commissioner Robert Gilliland. And the reason that he berated me like that is because I thought that it might be an impropriety for another city commissioner, Miss Kelly White, for her husband to own the Volusia Safe Harbor domain name, and for her husband to put quotes in the paper that it was a personal attack on their family to have social services downtown. So that was his response to me. And so last night I went back to the city council to talk to Mr. Gilliland, and here's what I said. Evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Lieutenant Thomas Redman, and my address is listed on the form that I gave you. As you guys can see, I'm in my Navy uniform today. The reason for that is not to brag, but I've held my tongue while people on this stage berated me and misrepresented me for the last 18 months. I'm wearing my uniform today to remind the Commission and every member of my community that I served 23 years honorably in the United States Navy. I left my family many times for 6 months at a time, so people had the right to state their opinion. At the May 19th Commission meeting, I stated my opinion that Ms. Kelly White may have a conflict. Apparently this upset Commissioner Gilliland. He stated he was insulted that this guy from Orlando comes in and has no idea what our community is about, has no understanding of the history that we have gone through. Well, first of all, I don't live in Orlando. Second of all, I'm a resident long time, since the day I retired, of Volusia County. I have lived in DeLand, I have lived in Port Orange, and I've lived in New Smyrna. So, Mr. Gilliland, if you'd read any of the emails I sent you would know that. I will also say that pointing at me and berating me was disrespectful, and I am entitled to my opinion, as is every other citizen in Daytona Beach, regardless of what that opinion is. Mr. Gilliland then followed up with a threatening email saying he was going to have the city attorney take action on me if I didn't stop coming to the commission and lying. The difference between me and Mr. Gilliland is I can back up everything I say. So you can look up all these awards, the 3 Navy Commendation Medals, the 7 Navy Achievement Medals, and you can look up my addresses, because I do know what I'm talking about. So let's talk about some facts. I have 40 seconds left. Dr. Marbut was paid $185,000 to give a plan that we're no longer using. The National Coalition for the Homeless sent a letter advising this city of the proper direction for the community. You ignored it. The United States Interagency Council on Homelessness, which is the federal authority. The Florida Governor's Council on Homelessness, which is the state authority. Randy, Ray, Chet, and everybody that's been working on this. You've been ignoring us all. I can't believe it. I'm sick to my stomach. Thank you very much. So that was me talking to the Daytona Beach City Council last night. And, you know, the reason I play it for you, and we're talking about removing the emperor's clothes, is because what's truly going on is in the city of Daytona Beach and in Volusia County, we're not doing the right thing for the homeless people. We're doing the right thing for the service providers. And we're, you know, I'll just say that, you know, when you go in and professionally give your opinion and a city council member points at you, screams, "Don't get near that microphone," and berates you because you have an opinion that it's not right for another city councilman to own the web domain for the project she's supposedly voting on without bias, something's wrong. And so I want you to ask yourself a couple of more questions. You know, I've been going to city council meetings here in Daytona Beach and Volusia County, along with all kinds of other advocates. And how often have you seen the Daytona Beach News Journal print my name? Well, they'll never print my name because basically I've told the News Journal, Mr. Pat Rice, Eileen, one of the reporters, and many others, that, you know, you have to tell both sides of the story. You know, they're not reporting all the successes that are happening in the community, Mia. You know, they're just like, what do you think? I mean, am I like so way off base here?
No, not at all. I'm just astounded listening to the commissioner, the way he addressed you. That you're right, that was very disrespectful. It's also very unprofessional for somebody representing the community.
I would agree with that completely, and I'll just say that, you know, congratulations, Mr. Gilliland, for being our emperor this week. And I'd love to spend more time on this. Maybe we'll get back to it later in the show, Mia.
Okay.
So, hey, Harold, you ready for that bumper for Hidden in Plain Sight? We're going to do our Hidden in Plain Sight segment. Each week, we highlight a couple of stories from around the nation. And Mia, the first one is near and dear to my heart. You know, I used to live in Orlando till the beginning of May, and we had that huge tragedy over in Orlando, Mia. I could almost not talk. I know so many people involved with it. But this story is a very positive one, Mia, so let's pick it up a little bit here. It's an ABC News story. You could find it on our Facebook page. That's Homeless Teacher Tough Times Radio. But it's a homeless man relights the candles for victims of the Orlando massacre. And what it is they had lots of different vigils and things, and particularly right outside of, what is that place called? The Phillips Performing, I forget the name of the place, Mia. Do you? But anyway, it's the new Performing Arts Center downtown, and I can't remember the darn name.
That's the Phillips Center.
Yeah, Phillips Performing, or something like that. But anyway, they had a huge vigil, and this homeless guy saw that the wind had blown out all the candles, and he went and relit all the candles, and that went viral on ABC. And this is near and dear to my heart because a violinist by the name of Sasha Kendrick, who helps the homeless downtown in Orlando, actually has a GoFundMe to help this gentleman. You know, and not only we need to focus on what happened to the victims in Orlando, because that is such a tragedy, it makes me sick. But this is a homeless man that obviously really has a good heart. So you can find that link to the GoFundMe to help this homeless guy from this news story on our Facebook page. You ready for the second one, Mia?
Ready.
Okay, the second story is 200 strangers attend a funeral of a homeless World War II vet. And this was an NBC News story. And Mia, why don't you go ahead and kind of fill them in on what happened with that?
Well, basically, there was a vet, an older lady, who had no known relatives and they were going to have a funeral and nobody was going to attend. Mm-hmm. And another lady who's also a vet heard about it, put some information up on her websites, and
social media takes over.
But over 200 people attended this lady's funeral.
Now, remember, this is a funeral for a homeless World War II vet that nobody was going to go to. That's a great story, Mia.
That's wonderful.
So we're B's over here throwing things at us, saying we're getting close to our break. So I want to say this to everybody. I'd like to say thanks for joining us. Make sure you join us online when you can't listen on the radio at www.1380thecat.com. And I also want to take this time to talk about our sponsors, Mia. Are you ready to talk about some sponsors?
Ready.
Okay, first, let's talk about Rocco's Yogurt.
Oh, wow.
And you know, I had some feedback from last week that I didn't tell people where it was correctly, because I said it's right across from the News Journal, but it's across from the News Journal Center on Beach Street. It's because a friend of mine said, hey, I want to go to Rocco's. It sounded great. And he goes, but I went across from the News Journal, so I screwed up. So let me say this. Rocco's Yogurt has a fine selection of different flavors. They have Dippin' Dots. And Mia, you've been in there, haven't you?
I have.
And the atmosphere is amazing in that place.
It is.
So if you'd like to support us, support Rocco's Yogurt right across from Beach Street. Tell them Tom, the homeless teacher, sent you. And I also want to tell everybody about Harry Allen's Daytona Beach Festival of Magic. Have you heard about this at all, Mia?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, let me tell you about this guy, Harry Allen. You know, I used to take my stepsons in to buy stuff from his store years ago. They're 19 now. But anyway, so I used to go in and buy, but he has his 16th annual Daytona Beach Festival of Magic coming up November 4th through November 6th. And it's going to be at the Daytona Beach Resort and Convention Center. There's going to be some great magicians there. It's going to be John Armstrong, Tony Shepek, Keith Fields, Paul Gertner. Victor and Diamond, look at the picture of Victor and Diamond. It's really, really cool. So, if you want more information, call 386-252-6767 or 1-800-346-2422. And you can go to their website. It's www.daytonamagic.com. And now, I am so happy to welcome our special guest for today, Miss Megan Hustings, the Executive Director of the National Coalition for the Homeless. Are you there, Megan?
I am. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Mia is on the phone. She's my co-host, so say hi to her also.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Megan. It's nice to hear from you.
So, Megan, before we get really deep into it, I want to say a few things to the public while I have you on the phone. You know, Ms. Hustings has a guide, her organization does, the National Coalition for the Homeless, on criminalization. And that's kind of what made me reach out to her about tonight's subject, criminalization of the homeless. And Ms. Hustings, where can they find that guide?
So, yeah, we have lots of information about criminalization and a lot of other issues confronting the homeless community on our website, nationalhomeless.org.
Nationalhomeless.org. So go visit that website, and you can get more information than we're going to be able to give you in our 20-minute interview today. So, Ms. Hustings, I have to say, what do you think is the single way to say what criminalization does to people that are homeless?
Well, I suppose it's an interesting question, but I think quickly, criminalization is really an attempt to, a lot of times, make homelessness disappear in a community, effectively criminalize someone for not having anywhere else to go or the resources not to live in private like those of us who have homes do.
Right. And so what's the effect on a homeless person when they pass a new ordinance for panhandling or sleeping, or, you know, you can kind of pick?
Sure. Yeah, and it runs the gamut. What's often going to happen is that folks who, again, have nowhere else to go are unnecessarily displaced, arrested, fined, harassed even, and further barriers to them getting back into housing are created, whether it's a criminal record or a fine, which actually can lead to, in some cases, jail time. You know, there's lots of barriers that we already have identified as keeping people on the streets, and it just doesn't help. And it's not really an appropriate response to a lack of housing. You know, we just don't. Law enforcement have a lot on their plate, and being homeless is just—it's not a crime. It's not something that we should be responding to with law enforcement.
Well, I will say that you know, there's been studies done by the Central Florida Commission on Homelessness here in Florida that proves that criminalization is extremely costly.
Yes, it really is. Uh-huh.
Do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, you know, and you look at the number of studies that have taken place that have been conducted in cities across the country, really, about, in particular, permanent supportive housing programs. But what they do is they look at the overall cost to a community of homelessness, and for people who are street homeless, who, you know, are not staying in shelters, even some who are staying in shelters, folks a lot of times use emergency medical care. They are engaging with the criminal justice system, and what's been found is that putting folks into housing, crazy enough, actually saves a community those costs. You know, when you connect them to the appropriate health care, again, when you have somewhere in private to live, so that you're not violating ordinances, even quality of life ordinances that are just sometimes enforced against folks who have no home more than folks who have homes.
Obviously. And Ms. Hustings, are you, well, I don't want to put, no, I am going to put you on the spot because you know I'm good at that, right, Ms. Hustings? Huh?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm only kidding. I'm not going to put you on the spot. But I would like to ask this. You know, there's a lot of discussion in the local community here in Daytona Beach. And what I keep telling everybody, and I'd like to get your cut on this, you know, one way or the other, is that empathy is really the solution, and giving people personal choice and empowering them. Is there any of that you disagree with?
No. No, and you know, that's part of the solution, I think. We obviously need housing. You know, we can get to a very specific point in our political history where we stopped funding affordable housing, and that's led directly to the increased homelessness that we see today.
Right.
We can change it very quickly, or more quickly, definitely, by fixing that policy, by again funding affordable housing, ensuring that people who make 30% or below a very median income have access to housing vouchers, or that we again put funding into programs that help keep up public housing, and look at other strategies to keep housing affordable going forward. That's the main thing. I mean, the compassion
prevention.
is a part of that.
Yeah. Prevention. But I guess what I'm trying to ask you about, let me be a little more specific, is once we failed, and when I say we, I don't mean that it's the government's fault or society's fault that somebody's homeless, but once we failed in some way and somebody ends up on the streets, isn't the best way to get them back into housing, which is really the only measure of success, right? Is that, yeah, that's how we get.
It depends on the individual case.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that everybody's homeless until we get them a home. And so, our success is getting them in a home. So when they're out there, I'm trying to ask you, do you think it's more important to have, I'll just say it this way, programs, or do you think it's more important for the people to have personal choice?
I think it's not an either-or question.
Okay.
We need everything, and all of this. We have a lot of strategies that really work right now that are getting attention, for supportive housing, rapid rehousing, but there's a lot more that we can be doing. We need to only actually help a small portion of the number of people who are experiencing homelessness.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we need permanent supportive housing, and we need those sort of supportive housing programs. We also need, like I said, affordable housing, jobs that pay a living wage, but also emergency shelter. I mean, we're always going to have people who need a place to stay at the last minute. Even a lot of permanent supportive housing programs and rapid housing programs need a place to be able to find folks when housing becomes available. It's not that apartments are immediately available. It's usually a process.
Yes, you're correct.
90 days like that. So.
Well, I'll tell you, Ms. Hustings, that's why I had you on the show, because I always like to be educated, and I like to ask questions, and I like to learn new things. And I was really taken back by some of the things I read in your report and some of the statistics. I won't ask you to give statistics out of your report, but I'll just simply say that if people will go to the website and they will look at your report, I think they'll be very amazed.
Well, thank you. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of misconceptions about homelessness, too.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, Ms. Hustings, can you join us for another segment? Because we need to go to a commercial break for a minute, and then we'd like to have you on for a few more minutes if you have the time.
Sure, let's do it.
All right. Well, we're going to put Ms. Hustings on hold, and we're going to go to a commercial break there, Harold.
We're all affected by homelessness, whether you've been there yourself or have neighbors living on your sidewalks. Homelessness is not acceptable, and the National Coalition for Homeless needs you to add your voice to the millions standing up for housing and economic justice. Visit www.nationalhomeless.org to learn more, or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/National Coalition for the Homeless, or Twitter at NTL_homeless. Contribute, advocate, reach out, and educate. Join us at ending the epidemic of homelessness in America.
This program was paid for by its sponsor, which is solely responsible for its content and the views expressed. WELE, Ormond Beach, 1380, The Cat.
Every time I hear that, Mia, I like a... I have to talk about a couple of other things real quick. I want to talk about our friends over in Orlando, the Ephraim Project, who are one of our sponsors. And the Ephraim Project feeds, if you remember, Mia, they feed behind the library, the public library, every single Friday night. They feed about 350 people, Tim and Liz Hall do. And I will just tell you that if you will go there, I'll tell you, Tim will feed you. And you don't even have to volunteer. And when you go down, and you'll get to meet some great folks. There's probably, 20 volunteers that go every Friday to do this feeding of 300 and some folks. They're a great group of folks. It's a great meal. And most importantly, you can learn the truths of homelessness by actually making friends and talking to people that are experiencing homelessness, and there's a lot of misconceptions about what homeless people are and are not. And I can tell you, after spending my time on the streets, homeless people are just people. They're not homeless people. They're actually people that are experiencing homelessness. And I still have a problem myself with saying that. But getting back to Tim and Liz Hall, they treat these people with unbelievable empathy. You ought to see the meals. He's a chef, and he's very proud of the food he creates for those folks. And he welcomes you down there. And you can go to their website, which is www.ephraimproject.org. And you can make a donation there to help Tim and Liz. They're a fully certified 501c3 charity. And Mia, homeless teacher approved.
Great.
So can we get Miss Hustings back on the line? Is she okay? Miss Hustings, you joining us?
I'm here.
Hey, thanks for hanging around with us. I greatly appreciate it. Mia, did you have a question over there? I didn't know if you had a question or not. You were looking kind of...
Oh, I've got several questions, but one of the things I'd like to ask is, in getting people housed, how do you get renters, and how do you get those houses?
You're saying how do you negotiate with the landlords and stuff?
Yeah, because I know there's been some difficulty with the landlords.
Do you have any insight on that, Miss Hustings?
Yeah, so it's definitely been an issue, and I'm always learning more about our housing policy. I mentioned this earlier. Our policy at some point, and unfortunately don't have specifics, made it harder, or made it more profitable for landlords to just go ahead and increase their rent. Made it easier, in short, to increase rent and not to really be necessarily a compassionate resource for renters.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different numbers and statistics and information you can look at. Our partner nationally is the National Low-Income Housing Coalition, and they are very good about detailing all the different programs that would be helpful to support. One of them that we've especially championed over the last 10 years or so is the National Housing Trust Fund,
mm-hmm.
which is a dedicated pot of money for building affordable housing nationally. And there's a lot of cities and states and counties who have also created local housing trust funds. So that's one way.
Right.
Another way, like I said earlier, is to reinvest in public housing.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's look at our housing policy and see how we can make it more beneficial to landlords to rent to folks. I mean, already I think there's a lot of misinformation, again, about homeless folks, but also, the voucher holders that are especially having trouble are a lot of times folks. So there's been a lot more vouchers put into.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Ms. Hustings, but for our listening audience, because like the last DJ, Big John, might be listening. He won't understand. People that are a little bit challenged. The vouchers that Ms. Hustings is talking about are vouchers that are given out for somebody to get housing, and sometimes we take Section 8 vouchers and we convert those into chronic homeless vouchers and other types things. But that's the vouchers, Ms. Hustings. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Ms. Hustings, but I want to make sure everybody understood.
Yeah, no, thanks for making that clarification. Yes, we get it caught up in the world of in our own silos. But yes, so the housing voucher program is a federal program through HUD. There are additional local programs that some local housing authorities will run. But yes, in recent years, there's been an increase of funding that's going particularly for housing vouchers for veterans. and also for folks who are known as chronically homeless, who have ongoing health or mental health or substance abuse difficulties, and are vulnerable. They've been on the streets for a long time. So those are the folks that have an increased number of vouchers. Even families that get vouchers through the normal system, which is actually quickly very hard to do because most waiting lists for housing vouchers outside of these permanent supportive housing programs are closed. You can wait 3, 5, even 10 or 20 years.
Where do they wait? Where do they wait, Ms. Hustings?
Well, that's the $1,000 question, right? In shelters with family and friends. I mean, that's the trouble right now.
Well, see, and we have a family shelter here in Daytona because we have a shortfall in inventory of shelter beds, like most communities do. It's not anything new here in Daytona, but for example, they tell me over there they have a waiting list for families to come into the shelter. So my first question always is, well, where are they waiting? Because hopefully they're being put up in hotels while they're waiting, and they're not in the woods somewhere, and we're treating people with empathy and we're doing the right thing. And so I'm kind of getting off track, aren't I, Ms. Hustings?
Well, but I can go along with this. This is why we need, we need to convert our compassion, I suppose, into action. And, and you said earlier that it's no one's fault, really. Well, I would counter that and say it's my fault, it's your fault, it's everyone's fault. We can do something. We do have a government that is supposed to be a representative government. We have the ability to, dictate the direction, or at least, we can vote in our representatives or vote them out or.
Well, more importantly, Ms. Hustings, look what happened at the tragic Pulse shooting in Orlando. Communities, once we educate them, can actually get behind. Look what they've done over there. And we could have that same kind of thing for homelessness if we could just show the community truly who citizens experiencing homeless are. And I've said here in the state of Florida, our numbers were 48% of our total homeless population are a single woman and a child. And most folks don't know that. Mm-hmm. And so, I really want us to know that if we educate and we have awareness and we truly get the ways to fix it out, and we use measurable results and things that work in other communities, we can put a big dent in this problem, but we got to educate a lot of people. What do you think? How important is awareness?
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, if you look at our website, you'll see our biggest event is National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. It's every year in November, the week before Thanksgiving. It's a time when a lot of us are thinking of others, obviously with Thanksgiving coming up and the holidays. And it's a week that we take to raise awareness. That's the only thing that we do. Of course, we do that throughout the year as well through various programs.
And let me say this to the local community members in Daytona. I apologize, but you can bet, just like last year, I will be petitioning the Daytona Beach City Commission and the Volusia County Commission to recognize that week in November, and also World Homeless Day on 10/10 in October. So if you're a community member, get behind that, and you can find all kinds of information. The National Coalition for the Homeless is the one that's responsible for that week. Thank you, Ms. Hustings. Can you tell them a little more about that week in November?
Sure. Yeah, communities hold a variety of events. Everything from universities or colleges doing food drives and hosting the film screenings to groups bringing our speakers, all formerly homeless advocates who tell their stories and have been trained to be a strong advocate for ending homelessness. We have a Speakers Bureau presentation and we're always very, very busy during this week.
Yeah.
There's also Speakers Bureaus across the country. In particular, in Florida, we had a VISTA program, AmeriCorps VISTA program, for a number of years that helped to start up Speakers Bureaus across the state.
Well, Ms. Hustings, let me say this. You have my full support. The National Coalition for the Homeless does, and anything we can do to help you in the local area, we will do it. I hope you let us get involved, and I hope my community shows the same compassion that they showed over in Orlando.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And we're going to actually do we have a phone call? Let's go. Do you mind taking a question, Miss Hustings?
No, it's fine.
All right, let's get a caller on the line with us. Who do we have joining us? You're on with the homeless teacher. May I help you? Hello? All right, so much for that idea. Still not working, huh, Harold? Okay, so we're going to have to go to a commercial break. Miss Hustings, can you hang on the line a second?
Sure.
So, welcome back to Tough Times Radio with the homeless teacher, and on the line with us is Miss Megan Hustings of the National Coalition for the Homeless. Are you there, Miss Hustings?
I'm here.
We're not having a lot of luck with our phone board. I apologize for the little hiccup there, Mia. I want us to try to figure out what we're going to do to raise money for the National Coalition for the Homeless. Can we figure a way to do that?
Oh, I'm sure we can. Megan brought up some excellent ideas.
Yeah,
my mind's just going a mile a minute thinking of different things that we could possibly do.
Well, I'll just say this. If you are joining us, please go to their website. Please donate to this organization. And as I've told you a million times before, if you hear me tell you that this is a good organization to put your money to, you can bet it is. Miss Hustings, thanks so much for joining us. I have to put you on the spot before you go.
Okay, what's up?
I see what I keep doing to her, Mia. Aren't I mean?
Yes, you are, Tom.
You know, I have to say this to our audience. Our guests take quite a chance getting on the line with me, and Miss Hustings was nice enough to join us, and I'm only teasing her a little bit because with some people I come in hot, but I don't come in hot with people like Miss Hustings and the National Coalition for the Homeless. They're doing some great things, and thank you, Miss Hustings, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys. So, Harold, you got that commercial ready to go?
Yeah, which one?
The National Coalition.
Of course I do.
All right. So we're going to take another commercial break.
We're all affected by homelessness, whether you've been there yourself or have neighbors living on your sidewalks. Homelessness is not acceptable, and the National Coalition for Homeless needs you to add your voice to the millions standing up for housing and economic justice. Visit www.nationalhomeless.org to learn more, or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/National Coalition for the Homeless, or Twitter at NTL_homeless. Contribute, advocate, reach out, and educate. Join us at ending the epidemic of homelessness in America.
This program was paid for by its sponsor, which is solely responsible for its content and the views expressed. WELE, Ormond Beach, 1380, The Cat.
And here we're back, Mia. And what I want to do before we get back into the show, because I really want to move on to Hearst Elementary before we end the show tonight. But I first have to tell everybody about Ant-Man's Crazy Kitchen. If you haven't been down there, it's at 112 Bay Street in Daytona Beach. And there they give you food you'd find at home. I mean, the freshest ingredients. They're prepared daily and cooked to order. The roast beef is unbelievable. I haven't had it yet, but I'm going to. And I'll tell you, their soups, Mia, and Pop's potatoes, both are a treat that you're going to love. So go down to Ant-Man's Crazy Kitchen at 112 Bay Street in Daytona Beach. Tell them the homeless teacher sent you. Now, Mia, we have another clip that we're getting ready to play, but first we want to take a phone call. We're going to try it one more time, Harold. Who do I have joining me?
John.
Hi, John. And what do you have a question, or what could I do for you, John?
Yeah, I'm from Ormond. I've lived in this area all my life. I'm interested in the fact that you referenced I believe it was Mr. White's editorial in the paper.
Yes, sir.
I find it interesting, having lived here all my life, that I can remember 25, 30 years ago, the city commission back then decided, and with the county's commission's help, decided that they were not going to move or build the courthouses and the state buildings, like where DCF is in downtown Daytona, out by the jail.
Right.
There was a big movement that now they didn't want those out by the jail. They wanted them in downtown Daytona.
Right.
And of course, a lot of the businesses, especially on Beach Street, the restaurants and such, they benefit from that because where you have courthouses and where you have DCF buildings and state
You have
buildings,
work. You have people that are going to have lunch, and I get it. Yeah.
Okay. Now, and then they built the Votran bus station right down there downtown.
Okay.
Now, common sense will tell you wherever you build the social services, the courthouses, the DCF buildings, stuff like that, your homeless are going to congregate towards that.
I apologize. You're incorrect.
Really?
And here's how I know you're incorrect.
Okay.
In the city of Pensacola, Florida, they moved every social service, shelter, and everything out of their downtown core area. There's nothing within 3 miles. They did that years ago. It does not change your homeless population. The social services are located downtown because that's where the homeless are located. You can put the homeless out by the jail, but there's no library there. There's no sandwich shops there. There's no place to look for work there. And so it's just been proven in studies. It's not my opinion, John. I'm just trying to share it with you that that doesn't work.
I think you missed my point.
Okay, go ahead.
What I'm saying is since they built everything down there, now the homeless needs those resources just like everybody else.
Sure.
Why are they so against building the homeless shelter downtown?
Well, let me say this. What's going on, in my estimation, is this. They are only building the Hearst shelter to get the current Star shelter out of the downtown corridor. That's their only mindset. They want everything out of downtown. And I think Mr. White's editorial in the News Journal made that very clear. And he's the biggest builder, and his wife's a city commissioner. So, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do, Tom, but and I don't understand the Hearst saying. I won't say I'm really up on the homeless issue. I know what I read in the papers. Okay.
Sure.
But I mean, I've heard them say they're going to build a come-as-you-are shelter. Okay?
Yeah.
So wouldn't you want to build the shelter where they are? If you're going to ask them to come as they are, shouldn't you build it where they are?
I would say yes, and I would say that you're absolutely correct about that, and we're going to get into that. John, can you, we're going to let you off the phone now, and we're going to go ahead and talk all about that. And what I want to get to now, Mia, is currently what's really happening. Harold, cue up that clip from what I said to the Volusia County Council this morning, if you would, for me, please.
All the way up.
All right, sorry. My name is Thomas Redman, and I live at 11610 Sarita Court in Orlando, Florida.
And you have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. If I'd like to begin by stating that we have a serious shortage in family shelter services. And as a homeless advocate, I fully support having more beds for a family shelter. Unfortunately, since this whole homeless thing has started, a lot of things have happened that have not exactly been good. We have lots of things going on that aren't appropriate. We have city council members who threaten via email to sic the city attorney on you for stating your opinion. We paid a homelessness consultant $185,000 to give us a report we're not using that had fake data. We had the commissioner's husband in Daytona own the web address for Volusia Safe Harbor that she's supposedly voting on. There are so many improprieties happening. We've had letters written to the city from the National Coalition for the Homeless that was provided to everybody at this stage. There's so many wrong things happening, and I've had to do some things that I wouldn't want to do to raise attention to this issue. And the reason I'm here today is for the first time last night that I've ever seen, Commissioner Kelly White recused herself from an issue dealing with land. I want you to know that's probably a result of this Commission of Ethics complaint that the state of Florida is investigating. I want it very clear that I've tried for 2 years to get anybody to look at this factually and to stop providing money to agencies that do not perform. Not a thing I've ever said, fact-wise, has been challenged. People vilify me. They don't say, yes, there is 5,000 homeless people and here's the proof. They say he's crazy. Well, it's no longer time for Mr. Redmond to come to your meetings any longer, and I'm sure that'll make you all happy. But I will say this, it's out of my hands now. And for all of the members at both councils that aren't doing the right thing, this will be in your mailbox soon. Have a nice day. And when I said this will be in your mailbox soon, I referred to if they're doing something dirty, they can expect an ethics complaint.
Tom, what did you mean by it's out of your hands now?
Oh, well, I'll just say this. I've tried to, I've been very aggressive. There is no question about that in the city of Daytona. I've been extremely aggressive because I tried for 6 months to get any meeting and everybody didn't even answer my emails. Even when I dropped off letters to City Hall, I couldn't even get somebody to answer me. So after 6 months of that, I kind of started getting a little loud and obnoxious even. And so for 2 years I've tried, and now we're at the point where it's beyond my hands because a lot of people have stepped over the line, and unfortunately it's not up to me what happens anymore. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk to the folks that are residents around the new Hearst shelter, because I talked to a lot of them in the last 3 days in the evenings as I've walked the blocks down around Hearst Elementary. Now, I want to say, first of all, that the reason I'm down there talking to the residents is I'm trying to educate them about what's happening with the shelter that got put in their neighborhood. They've heard so many untruths. They've heard so many things, and I just want them to be educated. And my stance on this, just so everybody's clear, we need more family shelter, Mia. There's a definite gap between the amount of shelter we have and the amount of shelter we need. Now, the problem that I have is you don't go tell residents it's going in your neighborhood. You go talk to the residents. You work with the residents. You make them part of a plan. You make sure they're happy with the plan, and then you move forward. But that's not what happened here, Mia. They just shoved it right down the residents' throat. And today at the county council meeting, they just passed the ordinance to rezone it like none of the residents even were there. So what I'm trying to do, and for the Hearst residents, if you'd like to call in, if you have a specific question, we'll happily take it next week. We won't have any time for calls because we only got a couple minutes left. But I will say that I'm going to organize a meeting down there. And Mia, here's the punchline. You ready?
Ready.
Okay. Here is what I want to do. And there is no reason not to do it unless somebody's doing the wrong thing. Now, here's what I'm proposing. I would like to get all the Hearst residents together, and I talked to one of their organizers' husbands today because she was still stuck out at the county council meeting when I got off of work and got back up here tonight. But the thing about it is that I'm going to get all the Hearst residents together, and then I'm going to invite Halifax Urban Ministries, the city, anybody can come to be on the stage, and we are going to do a public debate of what is best for their community so they can get educated. And unless they have something to hide, there should be no reason to not come on the stage and talk about what you want to do. And it's not going to be mud throwing. That's not what it's about. This is about solutions for our community. You know, it's funny, Mia, you saw Big John when he walked out tonight, right? He wasn't real happy, was he?
No, he wasn't.
Well, you know, I've been trying to get Big John, you know, he called out people and said they couldn't come on his show and debate. And I've gone, you know, I said this before, I respect Big John. I would never debate him about radio. He's been in 25 years. I'd be an idiot to do that. Now, conversely, he's an idiot to debate me about homelessness, because for 2 years I have been studying it. And he does not have any concept of any of the research. I've been all across the country studying all the models. Did I just call him an idiot, Mia?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, crap. Well, I didn't mean to do that. I do respect John. But John is afraid of coming on my show, which I've offered. John is afraid of having me on his show. That's not what I'm here to promote. Okay? That would be just for your entertainment, because John has nothing to do with the homelessness issue. I'm saying what I really want to do. And I will debate Halifax Urban Ministries, the Faith Organization. I can't debate Randy, Ray, and Chet, because we all feel the same way. But I'll even, you know, anybody can come to the stage. And people can honestly ask questions and get good information, and we have good public dialogue. You think they'll be there, Mia?
I hope so.
You know, I'll tell you, there's going to be a lot of Hearst residents, because I have been talking to people, and we're going to get that taken care of. And while we're on that subject, let's move to Volusia Safe Harbor a little bit, because we only got like 4 minutes left. Mia, the show goes by like that. You know that?
It does.
3 minutes left. Holy, I'm either throwing things at me because I got to hurry. All right, so here's the thing. We need to talk about Volusia Safe Harbor, because here's where we stand with that. Apparently, some secret plan is floating out there that Catholic Charities is going to support, and I haven't seen the plan. I've asked everybody for the plan. I've emailed Faith. They won't provide it. I've emailed Halifax Urban Ministries. Everything's being done behind closed doors. And then I see in the paper that the city manager wants to build this huge tent. And I'm like going, oh my gosh, there's not a single person in this community that wants that to happen. Nobody wants a huge, expensive tent out by the jail. So the bottom line is we're really in a mess here. And we need transitional housing. We need to get people out of homelessness. But the people that are in charge aren't using any of the effective methods. And even though, and we had Ms. Hustings on the line a little earlier, the National Coalition sent a letter to the city advising them. The city ignored it. We had Mr. Andre Bailey on our program. Mr. Bailey told the city, abandon Safe Harbor. That's your first order of business. Did they pay attention? No. The thing is, it's not being done for the right reasons. We need to do what's best for the homeless. And that's about the end of the show, Mia. I got to talk about our next week's guest, and that's it. Why did it go so quick?
I think we need a longer show.
I think, hey, Harold, you want to go to 2 hours, man? You good with that? Harold's laughing at me. Oh, Harold's whipping me now. So next week, we have Chief Mike Chitwood, the police chief of the city of Daytona. And what we're going to be talking about next week is the cost and savings of doing the right thing. And Chief Chitwood did a great job cleaning up that mess Mia down there on Beach Street. And so he'll be joining us next week. Please go to our Facebook page. That's Homeless Teacher Tough Times Radio Show. Please join us every week right here on WELE 1380 The Cat. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being with me, Mia.
It's my pleasure.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everyone.